Well, hello again, everyone. These are the two guys hosting for you once again. Professional Insights brought to you by the National Referral Network. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. We do got to come up with a name. I
We
mean,
got to come
eventually
up with a
we've
name.
got
We don't have
36
a name.
episodes under our belt. And
We're slackers when it comes to the name. I don't know why, but we got important things to do.
Important things.
Who has this time to sit around? But our friend Channing is here. Hello, Channing. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Hamlet. If you told me you were once a Shakespearean actor, I'd believe it with that name.
My parents were certainly creative with the name, that's for sure.
It's like, did you speak in iambic pentameter around your house? Is that what happened? With that name?
I don't even know what that means.
It makes me sound smart. Is what it
as
does.
Someone who has an engineering degree, you lost me.
Anyway, at the risk of falling further down that rabbit hole, the purpose of this little broadcast every week is to provide professionals with insights and information that they can use somewhere, somehow. Channing is an expert in the area of business transition and selling businesses and maximizing their value and all that good stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. So let me start at the beginning, Channing. If you are a business owner and you're thinking, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this forever. Maybe I should think about selling my business in the next few years because I'm getting long in the tooth. What should business owners be thinking about initially?
Yeah, so our firm is an investment banking firm, and we represent business owners in a sale process. And so I think there's like two main categories that I would be thinking about as a business owner. One is being sure the business is ready. It's a lot of work to be ready. And in order to sell your company for a premium, the proper planning and preparation is absolutely critical. So the readiness is one factor, and we can talk more about that later. And then the second factor is understanding a process that you're going to use when you sell your company so that you can maximize the value. The standard investment banker process, which isn't necessarily applicable to every business, would be to run a formal auction and create competition. So again, just really simply readiness and have a process and a disciplined plan in mind to maximize the value when you're ready.
So Channing, the readiness is an interesting topic because a lot of business owners are struggling every day to even just run their business, right? And what I put in the description here is that it's not an overnight process. And when we say overnight, what is that time frame that optimally that you need to have your hands on a business to get ready?
I don't think there's there's a lot of nuances to this, and I don't think there's necessarily a one size fits all answer. But one of the things that I spend a lot of time thinking about is the easier the business is for someone to manage, the more ready they are. So like this planning for exit is kind of like killing two birds with one stone. One, it's making your business more valuable, and two, it's making your life better because your company doesn't own you, you own it. And so those are sort of the two things. And, really, I think the work I've done in Entrepreneurs Organization and other, organizations working with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, I mean, I think this is really like a journey from starting a company to, getting it off the ground, hitting critical mass, and then really professionalizing it. And I think the professionalizing of the business is really what gets it ready for sale.
They say that and I'm going to use the analogy of airline accidents. They say that the most common reason for airline accidents is pilot error. Okay. And the reason I bring that up is because when it comes to selling, transitioning, all the things we're talking about, a business, isn't the biggest inhibitor often the owner?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think different companies in different industries are different. And early in my career, I worked at a private equity firm, and we invested in a number of different types of companies: software companies, service companies, manufacturing companies, serving different industries. And one of the things we did with each of the companies we invested in is we sat down with the management team, and we were partners with several of the management team. Typically, we would sit down with them and understand what is it that's going to make this business valuable, and what is it that's going to make it saleable? And we develop a series of key performance indicators or metrics that we would track. And, some of the companies, we would have a board meeting every month, some every other month, some a couple of times a year. And we would pull those metrics out every time we met and go through like, hey, how are we, what's our plan here, and how are we progressing on the value drivers? And they're different for different types of companies. And sometimes, as Mike said, or one of the Mikes, I should say, said,
it was two of us.
Sometimes it building a management team and really focusing on systems and processes is a real value driver. There are other types of companies where a buyer is going to buy the company for some other reason, and really paying close attention to that is important. But the one thing I would say is I work with a lot of entrepreneur or family-owned companies. I can count on 0 fingers the number of companies that can pull out a list of metrics and say, hey, here are the value drivers that I'm managing to and building, where almost every private equity owned company has a set of value drivers that they're managing to and building to. And, private equity firms on average make a 25 to 30% annual return on their capital. And so I think there's a correlation between, managing a business to grow value and like, just if you don't know where you're going, take any path, which is what we see a lot of entrepreneur and, family businesses do.
So Shannon, with that though, how do you look, and you're at a certain level, right? And that's the level that you guys are playing at. But like you mentioned, 0 fingers on your hand about key performance indicators. What questions should a business owner be asking of their team? How do I set up some of these KPIs? How do I start asking these questions? Who do I ask to get some of these things in line for an exit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question. I would say there's sort of in your question, there's sort of 2 things that business owners need to think about. One would be, a series of personal issues. Like, hey, I'm working in this company, and I'm making money, and I'm getting owner distributions, and yada yada yada. I'm going to sell that and trade it for money. And so, like, how much money do I need? What is realistically the value of my company? There are lots of like personal, tax, estate, wealth planning, financial planning issues that other professionals around the table, including you guys, can help with. And like helping someone just personally get crystal clear on, what does my life look like? What does my legacy look like? What does my career look like on a personal side? That's a really critical piece of the equation. And I think it's hard to just, wake up on a Saturday morning and figure all that stuff out. It takes like real work and thought and effort. And there's some complicated tax stuff that can make a massive difference in how much you have to sell your company for to meet your objectives.
Yeah.
So that didn't answer any of your question, but without that foundational element, like the rest of it is kind of irrelevant. So I wanted to point that out. As far as the management team and working with the business, I think really studying your industry, who's buying companies in your space, what transactions are happening, why are they happening, like what are the value drivers in my industry, and what are the value detractors in my industry. You can do that yourself. There's lots of databases and resources. You can also hire a valuation firm or a consulting firm to come in and help you think that through. There's a lot of firms out there. Our firm does it, but there's a lot of other firms out there that can help with that. So that's like just being like raising your head up and really thinking about what's going on in your industry, what drives value and what detracts from value. And it's different for different types of companies and different growth cycles and different sectors. Then the second thing, to sell a company for a premium, you have to really be able to communicate how the business operates, why it's stable, and that there are systems and processes in place to grow and build the company. If you're relying on the magic of a few individuals and you can't point to budgets, processes, systems, teams, a proven system, you're not setting yourself up to sell. You're not really setting yourself up for a premium. And so I think those are the types of questions that management teams can really really help with. And then the third thing I would say is most of the clients we work with, I would say, underinvest in their finance and accounting teams and don't have the reporting that's really necessary to communicate how a business works. And so when you think about, a buyer is getting ready to buy a company for 25, 50, $100 million, they're not going to write you a check for 25, 50, $100 million until they understand your business better than you do. And you have been working in your company for 15 to 20 years, and you just know it because you've shown up to work for, your proverbial 10,000 hours or whatever. However, if you don't have, revenue by customer, margin by customer, revenue by product, margin by product, what does it cost me to acquire a customer? What's the lifetime value of my customer? How does this work? How does that work? And you don't have the ability to granularly look at and report that stuff. It's hard to communicate how your business operates and the value to a buyer, and recognize that most buyers are like spreadsheet geeks like myself, and they use spreadsheets to understand a business. And so while you may feel like it's a superfluous expense, if that's how to pronounce the word, it may be in operating your business today and tomorrow. It's not an extra expense. It's a necessary expense if you want to communicate the value and sell for a premium. And so
we've talked to accountants about that, Channing. Is that, look, there's something to be said about having your nephew run your books. Just because they just graduated doesn't mean they should be running your books.
Right.
And then there's the psychology, you can't fire your nephew either if they go do a bad job.
Yep.
Right.
So,
that's the challenge.
And it also sounds like, because when you said earlier that most businesses don't know what their value drivers are, don't know what the cost of customer acquisition is, don't know what the lifetime value, all that stuff. What flashed in my head is that's like never going to the doctor and knowing what your blood pressure is, And so you're, in effect, when somebody wants to sell, you're kind of like the doctor. You're going to come in and go, okay, you know what? We're going to suss all that stuff out because you need to know it. And there's no way we can sell this for its max value without knowing this. Is that more or less correct? Did I lose you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's right. And I think, we and other investment bankers do a fair amount of work doing financial modeling and assisting or bringing in experts to do accounting cleanup and so on and so forth. But there's only so much we can do when we're sort of in the window of running a sale process. Really, a lot of the things that I'm talking about take, a longer amount of time to really develop the system, the reporting systems and the analytical systems. And then now I've got this data. How do I use the data to make good decisions and optimize and tune my business? I mean, those are things that take years and years and years. And so making those investments well before you show up to an investment banker and press the go button really sets you up for success in terms of making a premium.
Gotcha. Well, we are at shameless plug time here as we wrap up, Mike. So let's put the shameless plug up right there.
I always forget to do that, Channing.
Well, that's okay. That's one last question, Channing. So this is presentation spot brought or I was going to say sponsored, but I don't know if that's right.
Brought to you in part
by the National Referral Network, which is a pool of professionals all working together to solve clients' problems. How does having a resource pool like that help your business?
So we like to work with clients that have a full team of advisors that are experienced in exit transactions. And there's so many different facets of pulling together a successful transaction that the most successful entrepreneurs and business owners that we've worked with have had the right team in place for years and really use that team to prepare. The core team would be, not in a particular order of importance, an investment banker who probably comes in later rather than earlier, because the investment banker is more the person who's going to run the actual sale process. a CPA, and not a CPA that's just like filling out your talks to you once a year and does your taxes. A CPA that is really helping you with your exit plan. Is your legal structure set up correctly? Are you optimized to sell for tax purposes? Can you offer the buyer a step up in basis, et cetera, a tax efficient transaction? Trust and estate planning, a corporate attorney, and not a corporate attorney that reviews a document every once in a while, a corporate attorney that shows up, understands your exit plan, understands your industry, and can help you set your business up for a successful sale. Every contract you has the potential to derail a transaction. So really, really like relying on this person to be sure the corporate records are organized and your key contracts are organized. That's sort of the core. That's sort of the core group, so that your legal structure is set up, your tax, your accounting, your personal financial planning, your trust and estate. Like having all of those people around the table, talking to each other and not siloed, so that there's a clear and cohesive plan put in place is critically important. So we spend a lot of time working with clients, trying to help them build the advisory team. And I think what you guys are doing with the referral network in terms of like really getting ahead of that is adding significant value to your clients. And it's a really cool thing you're doing.
Awesome.
Thank you. Listen, we thank you for being here. Mike, any final thoughts before we say sayonara?
Well, Mike, if you found this video helpful,
yeah, there we go.
Look, please subscribe to the channel. We do professional insights with professionals like Channing every Tuesday morning. If you know somebody that's looking to exit their business sometime in the future, and we're talking in the future, please reach out. Happy to connect you with Channing or any one of our professionals in the National Referral Network. And if you're a professional that'd like to be part of the show, please reach out. We're happy to have you on. Other than that, Channing, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I learned a lot. Mike, I don't know about you.
Absolutely. I've never been in that kind of world. So I certainly appreciate the time. And Mike, I will see you next Tuesday.
I will see you too. See you all.
Thank you guys.
And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Channing.
Thanks,
Bye.
Channing.